And Savior Jesus Christ. Good to see all of you in the middle of the week to go through some of the statutes of and the principles that are mentioned in the Bible about the marks of a healthy church. We looked at till now, like we looked at many marks, like more than 10 marks. Now we are in 11 talking about church discipline. A healthy church would also be disciplining church, would also be a church that is imitates the nature of God, even how God disciplines his children. If he love his children, if the parent disciplines their children, if the parent disciplines the children, they should be disciplining them. Only then we can say that he loves. So let's turn quickly to a few verses from Matthew chapter 7. I'm going to read verse 1 says, "Judge not that ye be not judged. For with what judgment ye judge, ye shall be judged, and with what measure ye mete, it shall be measured to you again." And so if you see, if you continue to read, verse 5 says, "Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thine own eye, then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote of thy brother's eye. Give not that which is holy unto the dogs, neither cast ye your pearls before swine, lest they trample them under their feet and turn again and rend you." Also, let's read from Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, talking about church discipline, about if there's a conflict between two brothers. When a brother trespasses, Matthew 18:15 says, "Moreover, if thy brother shall trespass against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him alone. If he shall hear thee, thou hast gained thy brother. But if he will not hear thee, then take with thee one or two more, that in the mouth of two or three witnesses every word may be established. If he shall neglect to hear them, tell it unto the church. But if he neglect to hear the church, let it be unto thee as a heathen man or a publican." So here we see the order and how we should approach a person who is trespassing against you in the church, and what are the steps that we should take in terms of a brother or sister who is offending you and who is sinning against you. But before we look at that, in Matthew chapter 7, many people quote this verse, Matthew chapter 7. If somebody is doing something wrong in a church setting, we see that it's obviously he's doing wrong, and we try to tell that he's wrong or something. Then we imagine this. Many people who are babes in the Lord just think about this verse and say, you are not supposed to judge. You are not the one to judge. If you judge, then you will be judged. That is a common verse that they take it, and they say that we are not supposed to be judging anybody. We are not the ones. Only God is the one who is going to judge. Is it truly the right approach? Can we say that a brother or a member in the church is doing something that is obviously wrong, that is not according to the will of God? We know that he is doing wrong, and we try to approach him, but we are reminded of this verse immediately: do not judge. You are not supposed to be judged. Oh, then I'll be judged. So just let it go. Just show your love in this way. Be considerate, and continue to accept him, because we are not supposed to judge. But that's not what the Bible says. If you continue to, that's not what even Jesus meant, right? That's not here Jesus meant. If you continue to read the same verses, Jesus did not mean that. First, you examine yourselves, and rightly you have your heart right with God, and with the scriptures, and with the help of your fellow believers and elders, like try to understand if there's something wrong with you in judging a person, and then remove your cast out the beam that's in your eye, and you're expected to judge righteously. Righteous judgment is required. Discern, be so discerning as wise as serpents, and try to look at the fruits of somebody who's saying. That's what Jesus himself said. Even if you look at chapter 7 verse 6 says, give not that which is holy unto the dogs. Jesus is saying, um, how can we first know that somebody is not qualified to this itself is like Jesus here is saying that you're separating people. You can separate. Don't give something that's holy to the dogs, and don't give something that is precious to the pigs. So here itself you see there's a judgment that's happening that you can do, but what it means as you continue to read means that you are supposed to judge righteously, knowing the will of the Lord. That's what it is. So don't get scared, like when you come to a point where you need to take a decision upon a matter, that you need to take a decision upon a person. You can judge, especially in a church. A church represents God, the image of God, just the way how Adam, the universe glorifies God. When God created the whole world, the universe displays the glory of God, and how Adam and Eve were created in the image of God to glorify Him. And the same way, the church, when it comes to the church, in the church unto Him be glory. In the church, that's our memory verse too, right? First Ephesians chapter 3 verse 20. See that unto Him be glory in the church throughout all ages, the world without end. So that's the glorious hope that we have as believers, that world without end, and Jesus Christ is in the church, and He is glorified through the church. And the church represents God Himself. We are a Christian is also called as a follower of Christ, or little Christ. And the church, the body of Christ, also will follow Christ, be imitators of Christ. We are followers of Christ. And then the church also represents the nature of God, nature of Christ, where Christ is the judge of the whole earth, He is our God. And we also should have this discerning spirit. Discerning spirit is so essential. We cannot say that, okay, we cannot discipline anything in the church. We cannot do anything. God is the one who will judge everything. We cannot we cannot even take any opinion, because he's coming in the name of the Lord and standing on the pulpit, and He's saying, thus saith the Lord. So you cannot form any kind of opinion about this person, because he's calling the name of the Lord. He's man of God. That's not what the Bible is saying. The Bible clearly says, as you continue to read here, it says, Matthew chapter 7 verse 20 says, by their fruits you shall know them. You shall know by their fruits. And one of the greatest, I see the disciplining of the church is one of the healthiest marks of a church. As I was meditating, it's not a minor thing that some churches should take the stand of disciplining their members very seriously. And even if you don't discipline, but you just accept everything, and you open your door and wide open for everybody to come, any kind of thoughts and doctrines, and without having any discipline, and they can practice any kind of sin in their life, and the church has their door open, saying that Jesus loves everybody and we are a loving church, and believing that, like, don't, but your back door is closed. That's what it says in your books also. Is it really healthy? It's saying that don't let them go so easily, but let people come in. So in that way your church can grow, because your front door is open but your back door is closed. when they're going out from the church, close the doors very hard. Don't let them go. That's not what a healthy church, and the best way, even if you look at the whole Christian history in the early churches throughout, like the best and healthy church, the best way how our early fathers have practiced is to have the doors that are narrow and the back doors that are very open, in the sense, like, when somebody wants to become a member, you should be very you should truly like check, is he truly a believer, and check his credentials and see whether truly he understands what he's getting into, and check his membership whether it makes sense, and have thoroughly qualify him and see whether he is truly committed. One of the qualifications of being a member is that he should be committed to the church. He should be accountable to the church, to the church leaders, and toward the church, that he should represent. He is accountable for his actions. Same time, that also gives a confirmation of his salvation through his membership, that the church also affirms that he is part of Christ, that he is a believer, a true believer. So this is part of membership, but we should also remember that a healthy church should have proper discipline. Without discipline, a church is not healthy. I believe that this is also one of essential marks of the church. And most of the churches in this country or in India, they have no proper steps to discipline. They have no proper, we as Believers Church, we should practice more of disciplining and accounting one another and going through, because Paul here is so clear. If you look at the New Testament, even Jesus himself, we read in Matthew chapter 18, says this is the way how we should discipline somebody. Matthew chapter 18 verse 15, if a brother trespasses against thee, go and tell him his fault between thee and him. So this is the way that we should approach somebody who is sinning, is offending you, and still you can't just accept him, saying that we have to love this brother. That's not how we should be doing, but we should approach him, encounter him, tell that this is wrong, this is what you're doing. This is a church, is a holy place. God is holy, and we are also, as believers, are holy. We cannot partake in the Lord's table if we have something between you and God, that we should set our hearts right, and we should talk to the brother or sister and handle it one-on-one. If that's not going to happen, we need to take few witnesses about his offense and try to win this brother. If that still doesn't happen, you treat him as an unbeliever. That's some steps that we should take. Paul says throughout the New Testament how you should deal with somebody who continues to sin and continues to go against the will of God and continues to be offensive, that we should take drastic steps. In some cases, we don't even imagine that Paul is saying that you should, he used very harsh words, that we should put him off. Well, what is church discipline? What are the actions of, say that if you say you're disciplining somebody in the church, some of you must have read the book, right? Church discipline involves basically admonishing him, saying that this is wrong, and then if rebuke sometimes even telling, sometimes even taking him out of membership, and also not allowing him to partake in the table. That's what church discipline is, rebuking him. And if he continues to sin, then you treat him as an unbeliever, and then you cast him out of the church. You put him off. Do not partake with him. Do not have fellowship with him. Paul uses very powerful words. He uses something like, put out of your fellowship. Hand this man over to Satan. Very powerful. Not to associate with him, do not be with him. Such man, do not even eat. 1 Corinthians 5 2 to 11. Keep away from him. Take special note of him. These are the words from the Bible. Take special note of, do not associate with him in 2 Thessalonians 3 14 to 15. Here, there are different powerful verses that Paul is using to when it comes to church discipline and disciplining a person in the church. So Paul is saying that when somebody commits a sin in Galatians 6:1, this is how you should discipline that you should you should restore him gently. Those that are spiritual should be able to restore him. Those who is caught in sin, that we should not just ignore him, or we should just accept, okay, that's okay, like maybe he will grow slowly, just comfort, just give comforting words. That's not what it is. Sometimes you might have to encounter and rebuke him directly. That's what a healthy church should be and would be doing, is exercise proper discipline. Discipline is so essential. We as beloved's church also, we should grow more in disciplining, and I pray that like as we grow, like we should have this spirit of not only discipleship but also disciplining, and trying to seek the will of God, and trying to hold on to God's will, though it might look very harsh, sometimes very hard upon you, because you may not, they are also human beings, right? So it's very hard again to see their faces in the church when you encounter somebody and tell directly this is wrong, and the next day again you have to meet them. How do you react? It's why bother all this stuff? Just like let him do his stuff, let me do my stuff. So that's much easier, right? If you don't discipline, there's no heartbreak, you can sleep in the night very happily, and you don't care about him. He comes, he goes, he sins, you know that he's sinning, but you don't care about it. But a healthy church should be disciplining church, just like how God has disciplined, is disciplining us, just like a good father who is disciplining his children. We should be disciplining. We should make sure that our members are all together one, and holy, acceptable, and pleasing unto the Lord. Even the elders were not exempt from this. Paul says in 1 Timothy 5:19 to 20 verses, that if an elder sins, in that situation also, do not entertain an accusation against an elder who, unless it is being brought to you. So first somebody just gossips and say this elder is like that, do not just receive it. But if there is few witnesses against him, then also Paul is saying that rebuke publicly if an elder is continuing to sin. This is what the order is. The elder is doing something wrong, that we should rebuke publicly, because he is the one who should be an example to everybody. And if he sins, Paul is saying that sin has to be rebuked publicly. Some people who have believed, who have confessed their faith, and they have shipwrecked their faith, Paul is saying in 1 Timothy 1:20 that hand him over to Satan. This is how harsh his words are. He gives the people who have professed their faith, but they did not walk the faith. Titus 3:9-11 says, some people have caused divisions. Unto them, Paul is saying that warn once, then again warn the second time. Then after that, if they continue to be disobedient, then Paul is saying have nothing to do with them, or treat them like unbelievers, because they're condemning themselves. Paul is saying that they're self-condemned. These are the words of Paul, that we should practice discipline in the church. Though it might look difficult, if you look at the Christian history, many churches who have disciplined, who have taken this step of disciplining the church, trying to conform to the will of God, Those are the churches that flourished a lot. That's what we read. So those that are lazy, also Paul is saying that those that are lazy, that are busybodies, they are not busy, but they are busybodies. Paul is saying that we should attack, we should confront them and rebuke them, and that is not right. In some people are saying that this is being lazy is God's will. In sometimes that's what Paul says and tells about this in 2 Thessalonians 3:16 to 15, talking about those that are lazy, and then they defend that it is okay to be lazy. It's okay not to do any work, and just get the benefit from the rest of the members in the church. Paul is telling that, and they're saying people that that's God's will to be not doing any work. Paul gives his own life, how though he was preaching, at the same time he was also working, that nobody can accuse him. He being a great elder, apostle. So these are some of the things that Paul and the New Testament gives us, that we should encounter a brother or sister who is sinning, and which needs to be encountered, and we should discipline them. That's God's will. I think even Beloved's church should be doing that, and should be doing more of disciplining the church. Thank you.